All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's go. Peace, family. You're tuning into the pro-black perspective on KWAZ Radio. Forgive my tardiness. Just had to feed this kid. You know how I do. You're on the KWAZ Radio Network. Make sure you tune into the other programs, such as The Learning Curve, the Bitter Medicine Podcast, and, of course, the Harsh Reality Podcast. Today, we're going to continue our reading of The Wretched of the Earth. We're on episode 18 of 20. 18 of 20. We did it. You thought we couldn't. You thought, hey, man, this guy's going to just start reading, then he's going to give up like he did once upon a time, right? But no, we're hustling through. This is pages 204 to 216. Kofi says greetings. I like this YouTube statistic thing where it says, you know, how many concurrent viewers you have, and you always have more people in the chat. But it's all good, family. Welcome. And I hope you guys will enjoy this as much as I do. So far, we're going through different case studies. It seems like Fanon might have been a psychiatrist. And it's actually pretty interesting to see that he's helping the French as the French are trying to kill the Algerians. But it is what it is. So case study number 3 goes anxiety disorder in a young French woman whose father, a civil servant, was killed in an ambush. Okay, a senior civil servant was killed in an ambush. So just to clarify what a senior civil servant is, civil servants are not necessarily military, right? But they are part of the colonial establishment. You know, one thing you have to realize, I want people to realize this too, that white people do this to you. They tell you who is a civilian and who isn't, right? In a state of war. So you have settler colonists. You have people who come over. Let's use the example of America, right? I mean, it's not just America, but let's use the example. Actually, yeah, let's use the example of America, right? Or you could even say Algeria if you want. But you have people who come over to America, right? And they try to establish a trading outpost or whatever. Then that trading outpost becomes a city, becomes a town or what have you, right? And the natives here, the Native Americans or the Native Algerians may resist or what have you, and then they'll have other individuals who will kill those people, right? Now they then tell you that the difference between the civilian, right, who would not go out and kill the Native American, right? Or the civilian who would not go out and kill the Algerian. Sorry, I shouldn't say Native American. I should say Amerindian, right? But who would not go out and kill them. But, however, there are soldiers who will. So, you know, according to Wazungu, the people that you should attack or resist are really the military people. However, the civilian and the military person both are invading the land. You understand? Somehow you, and you know this is true, you believe, well, one is innocent and one isn't, right? And that right there is a part of the trick of the language of Wazungu, you know? That right there is the trick of the language of Wazungu. So this French woman you already know is going to have some sort of, well, why? Well, why? You know?
What about black on black crime?
Exactly. What about black on black crime, you know? But you're also going to realize that... that I hope you take away that it's not that she's innocent or her father was innocent. It's just that that's what happened, right? So let's go. This 21-year-old student came to consult me for minor anxiety symptoms that were interfering with her studies and social life. Hands constantly clammy and at times presented truly alarming symptoms when water dripped from her hands. Chest constrictions accompanied by nocturnal migraine. Bit her nails. But what caught our attention especially was the clearly over-desirous way to make contact, whereas there was a sense of considerable underlying anxiety. She brushed aside her father's death, which was recently judging by the date, in such an offhand way that we quickly turned our investigation to her relationship with her father. We were given a clear, absolutely lucid description, so lucid as to be almost insensitive, which revealed by its very rationality that nature and origin of this young woman's disorder. So, you know, you guys get it. She comes in with, you know, weird anxiety symptoms, and, you know, she's also kind of like, my father died, you know? and it was just kind of weird. Let's see. Here's a footnote for 27. I wonder, did we already pass by the footnote? Yeah. See, he says, I'm not a traitor. I think we already read this, though. During the year 1955, cases of this sort were extremely numerous in Algeria. Unfortunately, not all of them had the good fortune to be admitted to a hospital. So, okay, so he's talking about from yesterday when the guy goes in and just does some random attack saying, this random attack, and he's like, I'm not a traitor. And so what Fanon is saying is that was actually very common, that people would try to attack random French people, but unusually, this French person and this Algerian was actually taken alive, probably because he looked like a European, which kind of tells you what it is, So like, if he looked like a European, it's kind of like if some black person is passing. And then, so a black person who's passing, and I mean, Kofi will tell you it's probably not a black person, but, let's just say a person who's passing, a person like a quadroon or octoroon, who pretty much is a white person. Like, in fact, is a white person, but for some reason thinks they're black or is treated like a black person, or people around them know that they have some black in their blood, right? And treat them accordingly. And of course, you or I would say they're white.
Like Fard.
Like what?
Fard.
What's that?
Fard Muhammad.
Oh, Fard Muhammad. Yeah, I was thinking more of Ronda Rousey, but yeah, like Fard Muhammad. Yeah.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. Ronda Rousey had like some black ancestor.
Isn't she like a 16 Aroon or something?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like not even. But like the point is that, like if somebody like that, somebody like Ronda Rousey starts punching at different white people, like, no, you're racist. I don't like you. I'm black. And she just starts fighting people. She probably would be admitted to a hospital, right? Whereas if somebody like, name a black person, Serena Williams, like is
Wesley
punching
Snipes.
at people. Oh, yeah, exactly. Like Wesley Snipes punching at random people saying, I'm black. Yeah,
obviously, we know, bro. We
know.
Like,
probably not going to make it to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's the situation that happened to that dude where he's, I'm Algerian. I'm not a traitor. I'm Algerian. But it's like, you look like a white guy. You know what I mean? Like Ronda Rousey, you look like a white lady. Or Fard Muhammad, you look like a white man. And the thing is that they are white people, but depending on I don't know about this Algerian guy. I don't know what his ancestry was like. It might just be he was that genetic anomaly I was speaking of earlier. Because another thing that people have to realize too is that, like, there's this it feels like this is like a conspiracy theory website. I think it's like W3, the history. That's like some history site. It's weird, but anyway. But like one thing that
history.
You said what?
SputnikHistory.com.
Not that bad. No joke. But anyway, no, there's this. But anyway, the point is that at least for what it's worth, they show you what an albino Indian looks like, and an albino Indian looks like a white man. Like you can't really tell the difference. Like, by Indian I mean like dyed, right? But anyway.
Hey, yo, you can chill with that,
bro. Why are you always defending everybody? But anyway, nobody listens. No snitches listen to this, right? You know what I'm saying?
He said not a feather.
That's what I think. White people have that joke, right? It's pretty funny. Okay, Revolutionary Matrix is here in the chat. She says, "Greetings. Without the civilian, the military looks brutal. I'm with you," says the Whitey rejects. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They be whitey rejects. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, the Indian, those Indians, they, Gandhi type, if that makes you feel happier. It makes you feel better. With a feather or die. I don't remember where I heard that from, but it's real. It's a good question. But yeah, the Gandhi type, if you see them albino, they look like white people. So it's possible this Algerian was just an albino. And therefore, you can't tell the difference. Like legit. If you look it up, you'll be like, wait, what? They look like white blondes though. So like if you're a bunch of people who are not blonde, you might not you might see the difference maybe. All right. So my father was a senior civil servant. He was in charge of a vast rural area. As soon as the troubles broke out, he threw himself like a maniac into a frenzied manhunt for. So there you go. See, I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all too. Look, like you don't even got y'all. See, at first I was painting it like, oh, he painted it like you should be a little bit sympathetic and maybe there's something. This dude, he was like, oh, there's a war broke out. Let me go and kill some Algerians. Okay? Sometimes he can neither eat nor sleep. He was so worked up about quelling the rebellion. Now I want you to pay attention to this, because I'm telling you, you're surrounded by white folk. I mean, like, let's say you're in America, right? You're surrounded by, I want to say 200 million white folk, right? 200 million white folk with like 400 million guns, okay? And you might be like, hey, I'm going to fight the police, or hey, I'm going to fight the U.S. military, right? And the military is, only so big and the police force is only so big, right? But then you got maybe 50, 70% of these white folk are going to join in quelling your rebellion. So it's not going to be, oh, yeah, if you're talking about, especially if you're talking about something serious, like installing a black government or something, right? You talking about a black radical government, no less. You talking about, let's say 70% of 20 million is 200 million is 140 million, right? You gonna talk about 140 million people on a manhunt for anybody black. And the thing is this, your black population is one, only 40 million people. And two, not all of y'all gonna be fighting. Some of the 40 million are going to be joining the manhunt. Some of the 40 million looking like Ronda Rousey. You know what I'm saying? like some of you, it's that's why I'm telling you, like you're in there's this movie, it's called Star Wars, right? The protagonist, like the early series, I think it's like episode 3 or something like that, right? The protagonist
Somebody's fan.
I mean, look. It's about war, in space.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It is Star Wars. That's what it's called. Like literally the title. Anyway, but not even like you gotta look. Anyway, but so the protagonist is this dude named Anakin, or this dude named Obi-Wan. No, Anakin is Skywalker, right? But damn, you ain't somebody's not a fan. So it's Anakin, the Darth Vader, basically. Huh?
Which one's Darth Vader?
Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader. Damn, spoiler alert. All right, but
ain't that movie like 40 years old?
Like the movie older than all. No, I'm joking. All right, nah, I was just messing. But yeah. So it's before he was Darth Vader, he was this guy named Anakin. They're part of this order called the Jedis. I'm trying to give as little information as possible, right? Just because it's not that important, right? But the point is that his teacher, right? They call him masters or whatever, but his teacher is this guy named Obi-Wan, and he's this guy named Anakin. No, Anakin's like Obi-Wan's teacher or something like that, or some other person. He's just like some head.
What is Baby Yoda coming to this?
Bruh, could you stop?
My bad.
He did. Baby Yoda's not even. All right. Anyway, so like Anakin and Obi-Wan, right? They're like equally matched, kind of. Maybe Anakin has the upper advantage, but they're equally matched. At some point, however, while they're fighting and jumping from place to place, one of them is like isolated on a rock surrounded by lava, okay? And the other one is on a piece of land a little bit higher. And so he says, hey, so, to the one, Anakin's usually probably a little bit stronger. Just either they're equally balanced or maybe Anakin has an edge, right, on a regular ground fight, okay? But because Anakin is now positioned in the on the lava and like surrounded by lava on a lower area, Obi-Wan says, give up, right? I have the high ground, right? Which means basically because of the location that we're at, because of how we're fighting, it's like if you're in a shooting contest and you're on top of a tower and the other person's on the bottom of the tower, you have an advantage based off of just the higher positioning, right? So he tells Anakin, surrender, I have the high ground. And Anakin says, no. And then the guy just kind of like I think he like slashes Anakin's stomach. Anakin falls into the lava. And that's why Darth Vader has this machine where he's like this life support system he's walking around with, right? But the point being that, where you are, like the lesson here is that where you are, the positioning you have, right? is advantageous in war. And so if you are surrounded by 200 million potential enemies, right? Versus like, let's say you're in South Africa and you're surrounded, and you're not surrounded at all. You just have a heavily fortified a township, right? There's one that has the advantage, like there's a numerical advantage. Like numbers gives you a numerical advantage, period, right? If you're outnumbered 5-1 in one location, notwithstanding the fact that you're not organized and that other people are organized, notwithstanding that you have very limited armaments and the other population has a lot of armaments, you're already in a disadvantaged position, right? What you would want to do is you want to be in a situation like, no, you don't want to be, but a better situation is like the situation in South Africa, where you have a limited number of people, and sure, they're heavily armed, but they're very limited numerically. So you now have a numbers advantage. That's the whole point. You know, the whole point is, like, tactically, you want to be where you're actually a numerical advantage, where you have the numbers. You know, in fact, that's actually one of the basis of people trying to break up one of the largest African nations. No, sorry, the largest African nation, Nigeria. One of the reasons why they want to do that is because the Fulani apparently have a numerical advantage. So and that's what it is. I mean, I don't know if they have a numerical advantage per se, but it seems like if the votes are being counted legitimately and they are winning, then maybe they have a numerical advantage somehow. But anyway, so that's but like not even as big as white Americans have. White Americans have it 5-1. They probably just have like a plurality. Anyway, sometimes he should neither eat nor sleep. He was so worked up about quelling the rebellion. I watched helplessly as my father slowly changed. In the end, I decided not to go and see him anymore and stay in town. In fact, every time I went home, the screams coming from downstairs kept me awake at night. They were torturing Algerians in the cellars and the disused rooms so as to get information out of them. You hear that? So this guy is a quote-unquote civil servant. See, some of y'all was like, oh, no, civilians, I agree with civilians. Civilians are not a part of the war. Some of you were saying that. You know, I mean, obviously, maybe none of you were saying that because, you know, so few people are listening. But, you know, that all of y'all is like, you know, 100% good. But,
Facts.
but it's a rhetorical statement. OK, so the point, right. But the point is that, you know, a lot of people would be like, hey, you know, civilian servant, they're innocent. Civil, like, why would you kill a civilian servant? They're innocent. I mean, and here you have,
they're defenseless, they're pacifists.
Exactly. And here you have this guy, as soon as the war breaks out, he's going and randomly attacking Algerians and torturing people in his cellar, in his home.
That's his culture.
That's what I'm saying. Look, what's going to happen is
that's more of an anthropological question, though. So
that's what I'm saying. Look, what's going to happen is that you here in America, you're going to do your little rebellion. Because, you know, somebody had a little funny joke on Twitter. It was something along the lines of, was it funny you said?
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny enough. So basically there's this image of this person like throwing like, you know, like Ferguson Rebellion, they're throwing like a Molotov cocktail, and so you take a picture of that and it's like fall plans or something like that, right? Oh, summer plans. And then they have a picture of the 3 BLF leaders and it's like Delta variant, you know? And so, you know, the idea is that the Delta variant sabotaged your fall plans or something, right? Or your summer plans or whatever, right?
BLF?
No, did I say BLF? BLM. Yeah. BLM.
Oh, BLM. Who was that?
First, the BLF is, you know, Umzatama in South Africa. But
that was like...
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah. But anyway, but yeah. No, they're good people. BLF is good people. But BLM. So the point was that, you know, if we were just rebelling and fighting, you know, things would happen. But it's like, yeah, you rebelling and fighting, and these white people got a plan for you. Like regular civil servants, the grocery owner has a plan for you.
They got home insurance. They got business insurance.
Yeah, no. I'm saying they plan on taking you into their cellar and torturing you for more information.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what like you thinking, hey, you know what, you know, these white people are gonna get it, you know, they're gonna understand.
We're human beings.
Yeah, exactly. We're human beings, and we just need our liberation. It's like, yeah, sure.
You don't understand, bro. Like, dude, like totally, bro. Like, they don't get it. Like we're actually like just like you.
Why is there a white
Right?
boy on my stream? What's going on? Oh, see. I'm like, what the? I'm like, no, this messing. All right, so let's see. Kofi says, I say white people are mixed albino Indians. Yeah, possibly, yeah. And then
Which one? Not a feather.
exactly. That's the question. But anyway, learning. Why do you like that, man? That's funny. The learning curve. The revolutionary Mitchell says, but he is civil. I'm with kids. I'm with the kids from yesterday. Facts. They talk about it all the time. All right, I don't know what they talk about all the time, but yeah, they talk about it all the time. By the way, make sure y'all check out the Revolutionary Matron. Sis got fire programming, you know.
Yeah, check out the auntie.
Check out the auntie. Although I think I'm old enough to not say auntie, but you know, brother got me saying it. All right, so they were torturing Algerians in the cellar in the disused room so as to get information out of them. You can't imagine how horrible it is to hear screams like that all through the night. Sometimes I wonder how a human being can put up with it. I don't mean torturing, but simply hearing someone scream in pain. And it went on and on. Eventually, I never went back. The few times my father came to see me in town, I couldn't look him in the face. I was so horribly frightened and embarrassed. I found it increasingly difficult to kiss him. You see, she still kisses the guy. I found it difficult to kiss him. The guy is torturing possibly innocent now Algerians, all so that he could colonize these people. Also, he can be a part of a colonial system to colonize them. And what? And you're like, hey, you know, white women are not the part of the. She's like, oh, hey, dad. Would you
No,
buy
see,
me
I don't
something?
understand why people were saying that. Like, who do you think were knitting those KKK uniforms?
Exactly. It wasn't.
Like, come
They
on.
weren't knitting themselves. You know what I'm saying?
They made sure their husbands were well fed before they went to the next lynching. Like, come on, bro.
They didn't have them nano chips yet. You know what I'm saying? They knitting their own shit. You know what I'm saying? They had to do it themselves, man. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, like technology didn't exist at that point. So, all right. You see, I've lived for a long time in the village. I know almost all the families. I played with the young Algerians of my age when we were little. Every time I went home, my father would tell me a new batch of people had been arrested. In the end, I no longer dared go out in the street. I was so sure I'd encounter hatred everywhere I looked. Deep down, I knew the Algerians were right. If I were Algerian, I'd join the resistance movement. Exactly. Like, white people know. White people know that, imagine the scene from the Malcolm X's autobiography, okay? At some point, Malcolm X is just driving, and then some white boy pulls up to the next to him. And the white boy says, you know, keep on going. You know, if I were black, I'd join your movement. You know? This is America.
Yeah.
And he's
that was in his autobiography, too, actually. I remember.
I just said that, my guy.
All right, well, I'm doing work, so I ain't paying attention to everything you're saying.
No, I'm just saying, like I legit was like, you know, in his autobiography, you know, he's like, you know, that was in his autobiography too. like, yeah, my guy, that's exactly what I told you was right. Nah, all right, maybe I sound a little angry there, but I wasn't angry. I was pissed off. No, I'm joking. Nah, I'm joking. But yeah, for real though, like there's that situation where people know that, you know, you want to be like, everybody knows you want to be self-determining and powerful and all that and blah blah blah. But the thing is, no one's gonna help you do it. Second of all, everybody's profiting from you not doing it. You know, everybody's profiting from you not doing it.
We just gotta wait for the next generation, bro. That's it. We gotta wait for the next generation of.
I can't tell when you capping. Usually you do a voice when you capping, but I can't tell if you capping or not.
I ain't serious, bro. Come on.
You know
They've been saying that for how many generations now, and it still ain't nothing changed.
I'm saying though, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you know. But like the point being too is that white folk get it. Like the guy torturing Algerians, he gets it.
Right.
He just wants to stop it because there's too much profit when you don't stop it. Time to like pop it. Yo, one pop the drop. No, I'm joking.
Imagine drop a quick 16. What is it?
Right? Yo, imagine. All right, hey, let me stop. I was trying to be like Revolutionary Matron. I'm trying to be like her. No, I'm joking. All right, so one day, however, she received the telegram announcing her father had been seriously injured. She went to the hospital and found her father in a coma. He died shortly afterward. Her father had been wounded during a reconnaissance mission with a military detachment. The patrol had fallen into an ambush laid by the Algerian National Army. And you see, you gotta like form an army. You see the difference? When you don't have the army, the folk can just pick you up out of the streets and torture you whenever they want. You know, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was this story, I think it was actually here in New York, matter of fact, of these brothers who I think they were like taxi drivers, might even be Haitian taxi drivers, you know, but they were like them dollar van people, and the police would come up in their cars.
Dollar van, what is that?
No, not dollar van. Dang, you know what a dollar van is? But no, it wasn't dollar van. It was like dollar taxi, dollar cab.
I'm not in New York. But
All right, so dollar van is like back in the day. It was like a van, like like they got vans where you at, where
yeah, we got vans.
no, like vans, like somebody you go inside the van and then it's like a bus, but it's like independent and black, you know. So you would go to this bus, and you go to this like a van, and you could just go in for $1. And it'll take you down the route, kind of similar to the bus.
Safe.
You said what?
That's safe.
That's safe?
Is it safe?
It's like a bus. It takes the same bus route. It's just that you're paying black folk instead of white folk. You know?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. So that's a dollar van. But the thing I was talking about,
like an independent taxi service in a way.
Like kind of like an independent bus service. So the dollar cab was like the independent taxi service. So you can go into the like a car and say where you're going, and I think it would be cheap, like way cheap. I don't think it was $1 per se, but it was pretty cheap. Yeah. Okay. So the police would go up in these cars and then take these like basically it was illegal, right?
So this was like not regulated. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. I don't know if it was illegal. Like what I know is that if you ever see a dollar van, like sometimes they would just skip some stops because the police, like they go into high speed chases with the police for some reason. Like
what?
Yeah.
So they just skipped your stop. You only paid them money.
Hey man, they're not trying to get arrested, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But
there's like a lot of unions in New York for the cab companies and buses, or.
I have no idea, really, because I was too young to understand. Like now, they still do it, or they still do the high speed chases, I guess. But I think one of the things is that people from Jamaica, because people in Jamaica I know did the dollar van, right? I mean, now it's like a bunch of Caribbean people, but the thing is that people from Jamaica are defensive drivers. Oh no, is it defensive? Aggressive drivers.
Offensive,
yeah. They are.
I think that's anybody that's outside the U.S. to be honest with you. Like, like Nigeria, like they wilding, bro. They be driving all over the place.
My brother was talking about when he was in Jamaica, he saw somebody overtake somebody who was overtaking somebody. You know what I'm
saying? Honestly, that's bro. They be driving like on the like side of the road in the grass.
They be like
they be on the other lane of the highway, bro. The other direction, cars.
So I don't know if it was that, but it might have been that. You know what I'm saying? But they just your license was suspended a bit
like years ago.
Like a million years ago, like shit, man. Freaking George Washington said you couldn't drive. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, But anyway, my point is this though. With the police is that they would take these Haitian drivers. I think it was Haitian, right? But these dollar cab drivers, they would drive them somewhere. Then they was like undercover cop, and then they would rape these dudes. Or like sodomize these dudes, like stuff brooms up there, like it was a big story at once upon a time.
Okay.
I say all that, right? You're like, yeah, that was a weird premise, right? But I say all that to say that. Where are you
going with this?
Yeah, no, I say all that to say that people can just kidnap you.
Yeah.
You understand? People can just do whatever they want with you, but not if you have an army. And that's one of the most important things. So this is when the army can lay an ambush for these patrols. Because you could just patrol your streets whenever you want, obviously. But you can't patrol your streets against an army. So anyway, yeah. But it was a big story about the brooms and stuff. Because I remember hearing that when I was a kid. And I was like, whoa. But I also really thought about like what? Like some of these white boys get away with. Like there's a whole bunch of police cop officers that get away with like big ass crimes. Like many victims, like women getting like tons of prostitutes getting raped by these police officers, and then like after like the 13th or 100th victim,
hey, did too much. Like, now he did too much,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's supposed to be nipped in the bud from jump, but it wasn't. But anyway, that's the world. So anyway, so the funeral sickened me, she said. All those officials mourning over the death of my father, whose high moral qualities had won over the native population, made me feel nauseous. Everyone knew it wasn't true. Nobody could remain ignorant. And I'll say this right here. That's what Al Sharpton. I don't like Al Sharpton. But like Revolutionary Matron would tell you, a broken clock is right once a day or twice a day, right?
It could be more than twice a day, depending on your time zone too. But continue.
How could it be more than twice a day, man?
Depending on your time zone.
What are you
Like if
talking
you got
about?
the clock, let's say you got a watch that's broke, and then you traveling from East Coast to the West
Still
Coast.
talking about
You write multiple
traveling,
times a
man.
day. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you gonna travel with the man? Oh, you gonna be running around the world with the
Watch.
he followed the whole longitude, latitude, whatever. You know, he just going with it. Yeah, okay, my guy. Anyway, I think it's right. You know, at best twice a day, depending on if you're going by the 12-hour standard, and once a day if you're going by the 24-hour standard. This dude talk about traveling with the Mediterranean or traveling with the line. Yeah, okay.
Along the equator.
Exactly, right? Like, come on, my guy. But anyway, no. What she said? Oh yeah, but like, yeah, Charlton was saying this. He said, he was like, you tired of black folk dying, right? Like at early ages over gun violence and all that kind of stuff. Because when he goes to the funeral, when the parent time of the funeral, he got to start making up stories. Because usually when somebody died, they're upstairs and stuff. But it's like these people ain't doing nothing. They ain't did nothing. They just died young. So it's like that's obviously a mean thing to say. But at the same time, it's like that's what it is. Yeah, like if your life, like if you go into a life of crime at a young age, and then you're tasked to recount this person's life. Like, what do you say?
Sometimes you may forget their name.
Yeah, exactly. You just like,
I know what's his name did that.
No, it's Deshaun.
What's his name passed?
Who?
Farrakhan for Nipsey Hussle.
Damn, he did that for Nipsey Hussle. But Nipsey Hussle was a big guy.
Yeah, no, he like Nipsey Russell. Like, it's Hussle, sir. Like, bro, like,
Hussle ain't no name though. Like, real talk. You know what I mean?
No, that was the way he said for Nipsey. He kept saying the overall Nipsey Russell, bro. Someone not gonna correct him. It's Nipsey Hussle, bro. Nipsey Russell died years ago, bro.
Hey, Nipsey Russell, another person?
Yeah, bro. What?
Nipsey Russell?
Yeah, that's actually a real. Yeah, he was. Yikes. Continue.
Wait, what? Who's Nipsey Russell?
Wow.
Well, I guess it's Nipsey Russell. All right.
Woo.
Wait, are you talking about Nipsey Hussle or Nipsey Russell? What's going on?
I'm saying that Nipsey Russell's funeral, when Farrakhan was speaking, he kept referring to him as Nipsey Russell. And Nipsey Russell died years ago.
All right, you're confusing me, man.
Whole other person. He's a comedian, bro. Jeez.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know Nipsey was a real name, man. Like that's the first time I heard that name. All right, but high moral qualities. My bad, man. I don't know your comedians. Like,
man, clearly, you know Star Wars though. Anyway.
Yeah, Star Wars is like I'm like in America, my guy. All right. Let me see. What do you mean? Yeah, okay. I am in America. All right. Revolutionary Revolution. Like, yeah, okay. You in America? Sure. Like what? Like I'm pretty sure I've been in America forever. All right. Facts that they all talk about all the time. So obviously, learning curve recognizes bars. Bars recognize bars. So she said, "Pro Black Perspective, you dropping bars, bro." All right. So she said it's called dial-a-ride.
Hey, don't boost him.
Nah, you gotta boost me. Let's boost. And then, no, I'm joking. Hey, it's called dial-a-ride here. The fee for dial-a-ride was $3 to $5, and they had a route. Jitneys are individuals that accept customers, and for a small fee, they take you from the store to your home. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There are definitely people. Uber took over the jitney service. Yeah, definitely. And live by the sword, die by the sword, Melon 100% says. Oh, yeah. Sometimes people... if you live violently, you're going to probably die violently. And that's what happened to this lady's father. High moral qualities had won over the native population, made me feel nauseous. Everyone knew it wasn't true. But that's the thing. They people lie at their funeral. They know it's not true, but they still go along with it. Nobody could...
What do you mean?
You said what?
What do you mean exactly?
No, well, at her father's funeral, they said that he had high moral qualities that won over the native population. Meanwhile... he's going around kidnapping Algerians and torturing them in his cellar. Some sick, you know what I'm saying? But they're still talking about it. So she's like, everyone knew it wasn't true. Nobody could remain ignorant of the fact that my father had ruled all the interrogation centers in the area with an iron fist. They knew that 10 people were killed every day under torture, yet they came to recite their lies about his devotion, his self-sacrifice, his love for his country, etc. I have to confess that words doesn't mean much to me now. Well, not very much. I went straight back to town and avoided the authorities. They offered me financial support, but I refused. For me, it was bought with the blood of my father had spilled. I don't want any of it. I intend to work. So, yeah. So she had some she saw her father had some shortcomings. Huh?
Some remorse.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's like white remorse. You know what I mean? It's like white remorse. Yeah, it's like really you're still colonizing a people.
I feel so horrible. Wow, cash this check.
Exactly. Like no, she didn't take the check from these people though. That's
okay.
Like it's like I'm not gonna give her that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like at the end of the day, you're still like I said, here's the thing that we got to be realistic about. When we talk about the Indians, feather this time, right? When we talk about that,
I got you.
Well, when we talk about the Indians, though, it's like this, like America's their land, and nobody cares about giving it back to them. Nobody.
They on little plots of what they owned before.
Yeah, like they have some drinking problems now.
Okay. And
they have some gambling problems now. All because they used to they're the kind of people who could look around and be like, I used to own this, like legit.
Literally, this used to be mine, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's and now nobody even cares remotely. Remotely.
Just bring them up every once in a while.
Yeah, just bring them up every year to eat some turkey. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like, when's the last time you actually saw one?
To eat the animals they domesticated or something. But anyway, that's it. All right, so that was case number 3. That was pretty interesting. Case number 4.
Because they'll be like, no, it's our land.
You said what?
Be careful who you talk to because they're gonna tell you it's our land because we were already here. Remember?
Yeah, right. Like what were these people
already
doing?
Here?
Yeah, exactly. What were the other people doing? Like where's your feather? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just keep going on that now. I think it was nothing, but this dude talking about stop, chill. All right, so feather would die. Now I actually did know this sister. She was I tell you guys, I got the elder from she's in America. And she really did think she was a Native American too. Like she would go to the powwows. Really? Yeah, like she would have a feather.
She went to a powwow.
She'd go to the powwow she invited me to a powwow. And I was like,
that's hilarious.
Nah, I ain't going to no damn powwow. Like,
Dave Chappelle has a joke about powwow.
You said who?
Dave Chappelle, he has a funny joke about powwow.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
I didn't tell it.
He said he went to it. They did all the rituals, and then at the end they put out this bag. All right, it's about $40 for a gram. They were selling weed like right after.
He got $40 for a grand?
Nah, they were selling weed. It was like it was real spiritual, real deep. And then at the end they put out a bag of weed. Like, okay, it's $40 for a gram. $30. They were trying to sell him some weed for it. It was the whole operation basically just to sell weed.
All right, maybe Dave Chappelle does it better.
The delivery is much better for him. So.
Yeah, this guy is talking about, I don't know the comedians, man.
Hey, read, man.
Shit, I mean, I was trying to laugh, but I guess I'll read.
I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to learn about Fanon.
All right. Anyway, so case number 4: adjustment disorders with mixed behavioral and emotional features in young Algerians under 10. Okay, so children. He says. These cases are refugees, sons of freedom fighters, or civilians killed by the French. They have been allocated to centers in Tunisia and Morocco. They are provided with schooling and games, and outings are organized. They are examined regularly by doctors. This is how we came to meet a certain number of them. A, all the children presented a very marked love for parental images. Anything which resembles a father or a mother is doggedly sought after and jealously guarded. B, generally speaking, they all show signs of a phobia to noise. They are deeply affected by the slightest reprimand, a great craving for calm and affection. C, many of them suffer from insomnia and sleepwalking. D, sporadic enuresis, right? I don't know what that is. Maybe this scientist knows it, but probably not.
Can you spell it?
Enuresis.
You said that. Say that one more time.
Enuresis.
RESI.
Yeah, what does Google say? This guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google this. I don't know what that is.
Maybe the scientists know it. Like, hold on.
Basically, they wet the bed.
They went. That's sick. Why did you tell me that, man? That sucks. Nah, that sucks. These kids now wet the bed for that. I mean, maybe not now, but yeah, that sucks. All right, and then E, sadistic tendencies.
They were 40. That's a problem.
Nah, that's a problem. Period, man. Real talk.
I mean, that's common for kids, bro. What are you talking?
Maybe kids like you, but it's really not.
You're gonna sit here and tell me you never wet the bed? Go ahead and lie. Go ahead.
Yeah, my guy. What are you talking about? Why would I wet the bed? Like what?
Never in your life, bro. That's common for kids, bro. What are you talking about? At least once. Are you really gonna sit here and lie?
I mean, no, but he's saying sporadic bedwetting. I'm not like if you like I might have accidentally had a dream. Like back in the day, there were video games, and that they were telling you about virtual reality games. I guess they finally happened, but I had a dream that I was like in a virtual reality game, and I'm like, shoot, I could pee in this game, and then like I peed in real life, but that was not like a regular.
Dream is that, wow, I could pee in the game. That's the one thing you're thinking about.
Nah, it's real. Like if you know about the past, though, I was like a cow, like real time, like no Wazungu, but a cowboy or whatever. So I went to a cowboy store. I'll give you real talk.
Went through a phase. Okay.
No, it wasn't a phase. It was like you played these. Like there was this game called Duke Nukem. Okay, and Duke Nukem. Yeah, exactly. In Duke Nukem, you would like you could pay prostitutes and you could pee in urinals. Yeah, it was.
Before Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, it's way before Grand Theft Auto. But you could pee in urinals, so it wasn't like. It was actually like a good feature in a video game if you could pee. You know what I mean?
Wow,
it was awesome. Back in the day.
Realism, huh? Okay.
Yeah, it was back in the day. It was old. This is like, I want to say Nintendo 64, but maybe older.
Yeah,
but probably Nintendo 64. So yeah, it was a long time ago. It was the 64 bits, man.
All them pixels on the screen.
Yeah, back when we was like, damn, bro. Like even my dream was kind of pixelated.
Graphics.
Yeah, even my dream was pixelated. Like you go to a pixelated bathroom or something like that. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, like I'm not saying that it never happened, but the sporadic, like regular, like my kid, he hasn't wet the bed in ages. You know what I mean? Did he ever wet the bed? Sure. Not. Did he wet? No, he had a diaper on. But like, did he ever pee while he had a diaper on? Probably. I mean, yeah, most likely. But like, eventually you potty train them, and it's over. So like these kids, like there's something wrong with them. Like there's clearly something wrong with them. It's not normal for you to pee the bed. Not regular. Did you used to pee the bed, dude?
As a kid,
like how old is a kid? Like 4, 6,
5 or 6, something like that.
But all right, man. Nah, I'm just all right.
Yeah, bedwetting can occur up to age 5 as part of normal childhood development. So
normal childhood development, probably white folk or something. Yeah. Anyway.
So you love to just go to excuse maybe with white folk. Like black people can have that too. You know that, right? Just like schizophrenia is black people.
This dude, whatever, my guy.
Like, black people do have mental issues. Like bro, like come on, that's actually pretty dumb. You sound like these anti-vaxxers out here.
Why you hating all these anti-vaxxers, man? They ain't even doing nothing, man. He just had to throw it at somebody. All right, anyway. All right, so let's see. The children were sent to re-education camps and subjected to medical experiments. That's what Militant Revolutionary Mission said. Well, re-education camps is subject to, I don't know what children she's talking about. If you mean the kids in this story, it seems like...
Case.
Huh? Yeah, I think these kids were...
I think they were traumatized.
Yeah, I think they were sent to centers, not by the French, but by the Algerians. So the Algerians wanted to remove them from the war going on, and they kind of like put them somewhere. So I don't know if it was re-education camps.
They sent them to like Tunisia and Morocco, so they get them away from that
get them away from the environment. But it might be, yeah. So Melon 100 says, many dreams of thinking I was sitting on the toilet. That's too much information right there. But the toilet dream...
Right.
What do you say?
All right. Okay.
Right? That's interesting. All right. So the toilet dream, we have all of that. Had them. Yeah. Like now that I'm older, like I still like dream of like the toilet, but I definitely don't pee. I'm just like, this is a fucking dream.
This is old ass.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a dream. I'm gonna get up and go use the bathroom. Like, because I tell you, man.
Hold up.
Like that first time you do it, man. Like when you think of the virtual reality and you. Like you do that, it's like you wake up and it's just the worst. Cause like in your dream,
this sounds weird. This feels weird right now.
Yeah, in your dream you start feeling wetness, but you're still sleeping, and then you're like, why am I dreaming of peeing on my pants or something? And then you wake up like, dang, that's embarrassing, man. Actually, I think I did have like some sort. Yeah. Anyway, but anyway.
Well, like last week.
Nah. It wasn't recent, but I think yeah, sometimes. And he says when you always pee the bed, it's a sign of stress. You said what?
About a month ago.
Nah, it was a long time ago. But when you always pee the bed, it's a sign of stress. So yeah, there's a thing going on with you physically. Like these kids, because like they're sons of freedom fighters. Their fathers are fighting in a war that's and the thing people don't understand about the Algerian War is that the French, like the Algerians were dying in mass, you know. Like it's kind of like the Afghani War. Like you might say the Taliban won, but at what cost?
Yeah, but they lost more. Vietnam more than one, but like they lost way more bodies in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like if your father or your parents are involved in this kind of war, you know, you have this feeling that they're going to die.
And
you know,
they're not there every day. You don't get be raised by them really. You know, because
but they all. It's also let me see if I can get the casualty list. So the casualty list is hold on a second. Let me see.
What is
that? FLN. So the French lost 25,000, right? Mm-hmm. And wounded, and the 65,000 were wounded, and maybe 6,000 civilians were killed, right? Oh, and then there was like 50,000 pro-French Algerians who were killed or missing, right? That's a lot. And then the on the FLN side though, there was like 150,000 killed. Wow. You know, and that's including how many people were tortured and so on and so forth.
Civilians too. Civilians that may have been wounded. And all that stuff.
So the estimate for the Algerian casualties is 250,000 to 300,000, right? And the estimate for the
estimate probably too.
You said what?
Probably not even comprehensive, just an estimate.
Yeah, exactly. The estimate for the deaths of the FLN, which I guess is the forces. Yeah, is a 1.5 million total deaths. Wow. Yeah, so it's like it wasn't something that that's like, I mean, obviously, you know, you don't care, I don't care, because, you know, they're still Arabs or whatever. But the National Liberation Front, like 1.5 million. So your parent is involved in something where millions are going to die, you know?
Not only their lives in danger, but your lives could be in danger.
Yeah, even as a kid?
Child, that's a lot to deal with.
Well, yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. They're in Tunisia or Morocco, but they're not going to hear. Like, a lot of them are not going to hear from their parents again. You know, a lot of them are not going to hear from their parents again. And
trying to explain that to a child
you're not gonna have a life in Tunisia, Morocco. You're from Algeria.
You're a refugee for essentially.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then eventually, like what's gonna happen? So you're going through all this experience, but you know what's gonna happen? So that's one of the things. So he says sadistic tendencies. One of their favorite games is to angrily pierce holes in a stretched sheet of paper. All their pencils are chewed, and they bite their nails with distressing regularity. Quarrels often break out, despite their deep affection for each other. So, you know, it's like, I mean, like as a father, I can say, you know, like my kid really, you know, likes me or whatever, or loves me or whatever, right? You know, pause, right? No, I'm just no. Well, my kid really, I'm just joking, dude. Anyway, but my kid really likes me. Damn, dude, you can't joke at all. Like, what? Like, yo, you listening? You know Nipsey Russell. You listening to Dave Chappelle? But then one brother says one joke, and it's just like, relax, dude, mature. like Dave Chappelle ain't the most immature guy. Like, one of the most immature.
Chappelle comedy get even better. Each time he gets better and better, bro. What you talking about?
Chappelle?
Yeah, he's getting better and better.
I'll stop listening to that guy. But anyway, just like he's just immature. And plus, like I said, he's misogynist. I don't give a misogynist. I mean, I'm reading the misogynist right now.
Yet you're just reading one. Like, bro, stop talking, man. Keep reading.
Bruh, it took me like 10 years to read this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I'll tune into this Dave Chappelle eventually, okay? This guy, like, I'm supposed to just be like, you're misogynist. Yeah, I read one misogynist, so I gotta go fight all of them.
Exactly.
like some Pokemon. Gotta catch them all, you know. Oh, hey, are you with a white woman? Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Like, what? Like, nah, boss. Anyway, but yeah. That's the thing that happens. So these kids are going through a lot. You know, as Melanin 100% says, you know, they're just stressed. You know, they're stressed because their fathers are in this big war where, you know, the French are just massacring. You know, like if you guys know, like I don't know why he doesn't have a description of it, but the way how they did Algeria was very, very dirty. In fact, I think you might be able to look at it in the Carlos A. Cook's Reader. Okay, so I compiled the Carlos A. Cook's Reader, and I think towards the end, in Carlos A. Cook's speaker, like his speaking things. You said what? What? Oh, you might. Hello? Can you guys hear me? All right. So you said what? All
I
right.
hear you.
Yeah. So that was random. I think I cut out. But I said that you guys heard me say. You guys probably didn't hear me. So what I said was that if that I'm sorry that this guy. I'm sad that this. Not sad, but Fanon doesn't really outline what was going on in Algeria, but he but like Carlos A. Cook's like I think in Carlos A. Cook's book, the Carlos A. Cook's reader, if you check it out, you'll see that there are sections where Carlos A. Cook's describes the scene in Algeria. Well, not Carlos A. Cook's, but somebody writes an article about what's happening in Algeria. So that right there is make sure you guys pick up that reader, okay? But yeah, they had like concentration camps big time, and they were just slaughtering people left and right. Like you just saw this one guy was responsible for the death of 10 people a day, and it was just perfectly allowed. So anyway, let's go right here. It says puerperal psychosis in refugees. So I don't know what puerperal is. Maybe they're going to talk about it. Puerperal psychosis refers to those mental disorders which occur in women during maternity. Such disorders can occur immediately before or several weeks after childbirth. Their psychological determinism is highly complex. The two major causes are thought to be disruptions to the endocrine gland and the occurrence of a psychological shock, a term that, although vague, corresponds to roughly what is commonly known as a bad fright. Ever since the French government's decision to apply their scorched earth policy and establish a buffer zone over hundreds of kilometers, there are almost 300,000 refugees along the Tunisian and Moroccan borders. The state of dire poverty they live in is no secret. International Red Cross, right? Back in the days, back even too. Commissions have paid them a number of visits, and on ascertaining their extreme poverty and precarious living conditions, they recommend increased aid by international organizations. Given the malnutrition that is rampant in these camps, it is therefore inevitable that the pregnant women are particularly prone to developing puerperal psychosis. These refugees live in an atmosphere of permanent insecurity. The combined effects of frequent raids by French troops applying the right to hunt and pursue, aerial bombardments, there is no end to the bombings of Moroccan and Tunisian territories by the French army, and Sakit Sidi Youssef, the martyred village in Tunisia, is the bloodiest example. Machine gun raids, as well as the breakup of the family unit as a result of flight. In truth, there are few Algerian women refugees who do not suffer from mental disorders following childbirth. So this kind of gives you a little bit of impression that I was talking about. You have, here's the thing. I didn't really read this because I didn't want to. By the way, I appreciate you guys for telling me that you could hear me. But you guys couldn't hear me before, right? But anyway, so he said 1 million Europeans fled after the war, I guess, or during the war, who knows? But 2 million Algerians resettled or were resettled or displaced because of this war. You have to realize that, war is not a game. War is not a joke. These people are going to suffer, right? These people are going to suffer because of decisions, like because of the war. And that's okay, really. But you see that even the refugees, you're a refugee and you're displaced or what have you, and then you have French troops who are raiding the refugees, saying, hey, we have a right to hunt and pursue. You have French armies that are bombing the refugees, and in fact bombing Morocco and Tunisia. So we just told you about the kids, and you figure, hey, these kids are in Morocco and Tunisia. They're safe. They're uninvolved with the Algerian war. Psych! And then, of course, there's this village. It sounds like a person, but Sakid Sidi Youssef, the martyred village that was machine gun raids came through, and families had to run. And the trouble is this, that when you're running, right, you can become separated from your family. Like if you're running for long enough, you begin to make distance if you're not coordinating well enough. you don't have to, like a lot of you don't have to experience that right now, right? But there are people who, like those are the experiences that happen. In fact, I'll tell you guys this story, which is, kind of cool, I guess, kind of not cool. But, one time my ex-wife, my ex-wife and I are walking. Now, usually you don't really hear too many gunshots in Brooklyn, but this day was an exception, okay? So there's, and it's pretty interesting too, but like, here's what happens, right? You hear some gunshots and then, like some real gunshots and then like traffic kind of like shifting into the street, like, into the sidewalk and all that kind of stuff, like big stuff happening, right? So I look forward. And I'm like, shit. No, actually, before that, let me tell you what happened. So this is kind of not the best example, but my ex-wife was just being like, just, like, all right. So here's what happens. Sometimes, so all right. So here's I can give you some context. I'm like a fast walker. I'm a speed walker. Okay. So when I walk fast, right? And my ex-wife was used to that, but like, if you and her get into some sort of tiff or something, she might, she, like I said, like some people do like passive aggression. So she was purposely walking slow, like slow to the point where like she's not going to say, anything or do anything, but she's going to walk slow so that now I have to walk slower and just to like annoy somebody, it was what I was going through, that's why she's an ex-wife, right? Anyway. So we're walking and, I'm kind of walking ahead of her because she's purposely walking slow and I kind of want her to move at a normal pace. I'm walking at a normal pace. She's walking slow, right? And like not slow because she walks slow, but slow because she wants to piss me off or whatever, right? Suddenly there's gunshots, right? I look forward and there are people running, okay? So first thing I do, and she's pregnant or whatever, right? So first thing I do is I kind of run a little forward and then I run around the corner, right? I run around the corner and I look back, right? No, I run around the corner and I see that I look back and she's just walking casually, right? And I'm like, come on, let's go around the corner because there's people, shooting over there. And she's just walking casually. So then I had to walk back where, the gunshots were to be like, come on, like, let's hide over here. And then, she's just whatever, right? Now, here's what's interesting. So yeah, it's kind of cool that I go back to, stand with my, protect my pregnant wife, even though, like, the initial reaction was to run because that's what people were doing. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? What she saw was that people, when the gunshots were happening, people were just walking. Like, oh, it's whatever. It's just a normal day in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So she was like, I'm just going to walk. And so what makes that interesting is that people are going to respond differently from the same impetus. And people are going to observe different things from the same situation. Because the first thing I saw was this little girl just dashing. And I was like, shit, that's what we doing. You know what I mean? Like, that black joke, when you see some black people running, you just like, shit, that's what I gotta be. But like, she saw people just walking like, oh, okay, it's a gunshot and it's a car crash, but it's whatever. Right? Now, to me, that don't make no sense, of course. But again, like, there's a reason why you get divorces, right? But like it's common sense. I'm surprised Machiavelli ain't saying nothing. But anyway, but like the thing is that's what it is, people respond. Oh yeah. So no, sorry. Here's the thing. So if I didn't turn back and kept running, right? I like we would have been separated, especially like if we didn't have any phones, we just would have been separated, even if she ran one way and I ran another way, we just would have been separated, now imagine running for days, now here was actually a pretty crappy story, to be honest, because what happens later is that apparently so we decided to walk to the train station and she's quiet and I'm like, what'd you see? And she's quiet because she might have actually seen the shooter, right? And then we go on the train and I'm like, hey, come on, tell me what you saw. And then we go on like a ferry, right? And I'm like, tell me what you saw. And she's not saying anything. And apparently, like later on, she would tell me that she was convinced that the gun was on the train with us and the ferry with us. Like, yeah, okay. Like, I mean, it's possible he was, but it's like you should have just said something. But I think that's also something you have to realize too, is that although she would, she would come to her own conclusion, but what I would say is that, those sort of situations test the people. Some people might say, hey, Oni, why'd you even run? Why didn't you just shoot this person, right? Okay, sure. But, I'll have to go check the comments and see if somebody's saying that. But, that's a possibility too. But the point is, that is the better response, honestly. But my point is that, that's another thing about it too, is that no matter how much talk people have, when a situation happens, right? When a war situation happens, or when a situation, when I think it's Marcus Garvey says, parade and whatever are not battles. When a real battle comes, people will know. Like sometimes, after that, so I would go and protect a woman, notwithstanding the risk, right? But even with my son, when I'm walking with my son, like when he was younger, he couldn't run, and he still can't run, obviously. But if people were shooting around him, I would just walk with him, probably. Most likely, because or probably or maybe pick him up and run, or maybe even just cover his body with mine, right? If not, shoot at the person or whatever. But the point being that that's the reality. Now, some people will just leave their kids, or some people will just leave their wife, or some people will just leave the premise, and that's fine too, but it kind of speaks to why families, why there's a variability about the situation. Anyway, let's see what the comments are. If anybody's saying, Oni, why didn't you shoot this person you never saw? All right. A pregnant woman organ during pregnancy is abnormal, but after childbirth, her organs go back to normal. Okay. Puerperal. But it takes 6 weeks after birth for organs to return back to normal. That's when women are telling guys to, hey, hold on a second, When pregnant women's minds are not a normal state, they do crazy things. Chemical imbalance. Yeah, that's what he said. All right, so let's keep going. So there are various symptoms. What'd you say?
How don't you notice though, bro?
How did I notice what?
That information.
About pregnant women?
Yes.
How did I notice about pregnant women? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Who said I didn't notice that? Silence, right? All right. All right. So there are various symptoms, agitation, sometimes accompanied by furor. I'll be saying furor the wrong way, right? There are various symptoms, agitation, sometimes accompanied by furor. Furor, I don't know. Deep asthenic depression coupled with multiple suicide attempts.
It's pronounced Ferrari.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. Ferrari. But I couldn't buy Ferrari. Deep asthenic depression coupled with multiple suicide attempts. Symptoms of anxiety accompanied by tears, lamentations, and appeals for mercy, etc. Likewise, delusional disorders present many different characteristics. A delusion of vague persecution aimed at anyone, a delirious aggressivity aimed at the French who want to kill the unborn or newborn child, an impression of imminent death in which the mothers beg the invisible killers to spare their children. Once again, we must point out that the underlying problem is not solved by sedation or reversal of the symptoms. Even after this patient has been cured, her predicament maintains and nurtures these psychological complications. Yeah, so women want to protect their children. I mean, you have to realize, particularly women, right? But a child is so innocent of the world that you don't want the situation, the issues of the world to impact them. That you would you guys, I mean, if you don't have children or you don't know newborn children for some reason, right? You can't appreciate how innocent they are. And for a mother, she bonded with this collection of cells in her body for a series of months, only to bring it into a world, and for that world to injure or damage her is it's just tearful. In fact, I'm actually kind of I've just brought back to mind that image of that. I think it was Cameroon. I think I mentioned it already before, but the image in the Cameroon where these soldiers gunned down these women while they had their babies on their backs. And it's like my thinking is, why would you have that baby on your back when you know you're going to be gunned down, right? But my thinking is also, why would you gun down a lady?
Down with a baby on their back, bro.
You said what?
You probably don't think they'll get gunned down with a whole baby.
No, dude. If you look at the video, they're walking towards the like it's an execution. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no doubt in their mind that they're going to be gunned down. You know, like they're being told to go where they're going to be executed. You know what I mean? And the thing is that if that's the case, like, I mean, at best, I could understand pleading with the person, hey, leave my baby out of this, you know, maybe take my baby this way, blah, blah, blah. But, like, to walk with the baby on your back is like I don't even understand, you know? And it's just so sad because, like, yeah, the baby's killed, you know? And, I mean, I could get that whole, hey, you know, maybe they won't kill me with my baby on my back. But, like, yeah, like the fact that the babies are killed with the mothers is kind of like, yeah, I just wouldn't have done that. Like, I would have gambled on something else, you know? Like it's kind of like if somebody's like trying to kill me and I just grab my son, like, hey, don't kill me. Like, what? No, I would definitely not do that, you know? Like, that's awful. This is awful. Huh?
What would you do?
I mean, I'd probably just like try to distance myself from my son, maybe, or something, you know? Or just be like, hey, just don't kill my son. Like, you know, like you losing your life for your kid is expected, you know? Like it's really something that, like, a lot of us don't think we're selfish, but a lot of people, I'm not going to say everybody, right? But it's perfectly reasonable to expect to lose your life for your kid.
I mean, yeah, that's your job. You're supposed to.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, some people are selfish, obviously, you know? Huh? Well, as I'm saying, like there are going to be people who do not put their kid first. You know, there's this video you guys should check out on Twitter. It's pretty sad, honestly. There's this guy, like, there's this new trend going on, or a new challenge, I guess. I don't know what it is, but you basically, it seems like you just, like, you're applying for a scholarship or you're applying for some sort of good position, and then you call your mother a prostitute while you're doing the recording, or like a former prostitute, and then watch as she flips out. Yeah, and it was, yeah. How's that? Yeah, it was like, I only saw one video, so I don't know if I don't know. Like, I saw two videos, but the video I saw with this gentleman with his mother, well, not gentleman, but like his mother was like, she gave up that whole sexual life in order to raise him, and yet he still called her a prostitute, you know, just for like a scholarship or something. But it's like, and like in front of her face on camera, you know. But it's like the sacrifice of your sexuality for some kid, and then he's kind of like if you really do study the body language and all that kind of stuff, he like looks down on her. You know, he looks down on her more than you look down on me. You know what I
mean? I'm a prostitute or what? I'm lost. I'm not understanding this now.
No, she wasn't. That's the thing. So she not only wasn't a prostitute. Yeah, it's a prank. Yeah. It's a prank, but it's like, it's not only that she wasn't a prostitute, but she wasn't even sexually active, you know, for the entire time of his life, pretty much, according to her, right? And notwithstanding that, he does that.
That's the thing. You don't do that.
You don't do that. Yeah, I mean, that's the new funny thing, you know. It's pretty sad. I don't know if I should put it in funny, but it's pretty sad.
How about you just?
Dude, your camera is jacked. Like, your voice is jacked up. Get your 5G up, my guy. like you just break it up. You break it up like you done something wrong, man.
I don't want to catch COVID.
You said what?
I don't want to catch COVID.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. Yo, you break it up like like you done like mess with her girlfriend or something. You know, mess with her friend. Don't mess with her. I don't know how it is. I don't know. Whatever. You mess with her friend. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Series C. Affective and mental changes and emotional disturbances after torture. So this series groups patients in a fairly serious condition whose disorders appeared immediately after or during torture. So he's talking about people who get mental illness because of torture, which is expected. We have classified them into subgroups because we realize that their characteristic symptoms of morbidity correspond to different methods of torture, irrespective of the superficial or profound effects on the personality. I do want to say this though. So, like I said, I know somebody in prison and all that kind of stuff, and I talked to them, and when I was explaining to them the prison situation, I said, look, the reality is that prison is just is torture. Now, it's probably not this brutal beat you up torture, but as far as human beings are concerned, and being social animals that they are, putting them in this solitary confinement for years, or sorry, not years, months or days or weeks or whatever. And dude, your voice, like, you gotta go.
I said I'm in there for years, bro. Come on.
No, but it's not regular to be in years. But I'm just saying, like common experience is that you're isolated for a week, and not even just like solitary confinement, but just being confined around a bunch of other criminals, Dude, I cannot understand you. You reboot your router or something. You just ran out of data, my guy. You just ran out of data. But the point is that like because like one of the impressions I get from these people who go to prison is that they're like, oh, I'm surrounded by prisoners. I'm surrounded by real prisoners. Real criminals. And not just that. Apparently, guards do mess with their prisoners. They do torture you. They do deprive you. This particular prison I know was like kind of had a Bible or something, and it's religious nonsense. And then maybe a guard might take their Bible or something, and just be like, whatever, or throw it in the, which is, probably a good thing, but to the prisoner it does mean something else. But anyway, group number 1, after indiscriminate torture as a so-called precautionary measure, here we refer to the brutal methods used to get the victim to speak rather than actual torture. The principle according to which above a certain limit the suffering becomes unbearable here takes on a particular significance. All right, sorry. Here we refer to the brutal methods used to get the victim to speak rather than actual torture. The principles according to which above a certain limit of the suffering becomes unbearable here takes on a particular significance. The aim, therefore, is to reach this limit as quickly as possible. There is no meticulous attention to details. It is brute force using a variety of methods. For instance, several policemen beat the victim simultaneously. 4 policemen stand around the prisoner in a circle, juggling with him like a punch ball, while one burns his chest with a cigarette and another hits the sole of his feet with a stick. Some of the methods of torture used in Algeria seem to be particularly horrifying as described to us by the victims. This is waterboarding right here. Water is forced through the mouth accompanied by an enema of soapy water injected at high pressure. Oh, no, that's not waterboarding. So this type of torture is the cause of a great many deaths. The high pressure of the enema causes multiple lesions and minute perforations to the mucous membranes of the intestines. Gaseous embolism and peritonitis commonly result. Actually, so here's okay, guys. So I do not know what an enema is, but if I'm not mistaken, that's when they try to clean your anus, I think. Is that what it is? You probably know, dude. I don't even want to look it up. But I vaguely remember, like, around the time of Duke Nukem and that, where people were talking about it. So enema is an injection of fluid into the lower bowels by way of the rectum. So as a torture, look at that. As a torture, they're going to put water through your mouth. They're going to put water in your mouth and then water up your butt. Oh, look at that. B, a bottle is rammed into the anus. So, I was listening to, like I said, I used to this. I didn't use this, but I listened to like maybe one lecture of Irritated Genie, and then I couldn't listen to any more because he was talking about male rape or something like that, like male rape in African prisons, no less, right? And also like during the earthquake. So this is like during the like the first Haitian, like not the first, but the 2011, I think, or 2010 earthquake in Haiti. So he's like, after that, there were like UN officers who were raping like Haitian men and all that kind of stuff. But then he also said, like, even in like African prisons, they will do rapes on these people. And I was like, shit, I don't want to go to no prison. But yeah, a bottle is ran into the anus. That's a torturing thing. Like I told you about the broomsticks here in America, they still do this stuff, right? two types of so-called forced immobility torture. Oh dang, my man really went to go reset his thing. He didn't get to hear that part. Two sorts of so let's go back to that. Two types of forced immobility torture. The prisoner is forced to his knee, arms parallel to the ground, palms upward, keeping his torso and head straight. He is not allowed to move. A policeman sitting behind the prisoner forces him to remain motionless with blows from a billy club, right? And then another one, D, the prisoner stands facing a wall, arms raised, his hands placed against the wall. Here again, at the slightest move or sign of weakening, he is dealt a series of blows. So he says, we must now point out that those two categories of tortured victim, A, those who know something, B, those who know nothing. And then he says, A, those who know something are seldom seen in the medical centers. We may know for a fact that a particular patriot had been tortured in a French prison, but we never encounter him as a patient. So basically, they probably don't live. We're speaking, of course, of those Algerians who know something and have not confessed under torture, for it is a fact that an Algerian who confesses is killed immediately afterward. Damn. You see that? Y'all see that, right? So if you do know something, right, and they get it out of you. So you saw before, the police officer was telling you, oh my gosh, see, all war is based off of deception, right? So he's saying, look, police officer says, hey, look, if you say something, don't worry, you'll live through this, okay? We just want you to say something. And then you're like, okay, fine, I'll say something. Dead. You know? Yeah, that's it. So he says, B, those who know nothing, however, very often come to consult us. We do not mean those Algerians who have been beaten up during a police roundup or spot check. They never come to see us as a patient either. We mean those Algerians belonging to no organization who are arrested and taken to police barracks or interrogation centers to be questioned. So most of the people are going to be the people who don't know anything, right? Psychiatric symptoms encountered. A, clinical depression, 4 cases. There are melancholic patients totally devoid of anxiety, depressed, and most of the time bedridden, who avoid contact and then very suddenly become extremely violent for no apparent reason. B, anorexia nervosa, 5 cases. Those patients pose serious problems since their anorexia nervosa is accompanied by a phobia of any physical contact. The nurse who accompanies the patient and tries to touch him or take his hand, for example, is vigorously pushed away. Impossible to practice intravenous feeding or administer medication. The medical staff have to take turns attending the patient night and day and explaining things to him. The idea that the patient needs a little bullying is understandably of little use here. So, and again, we don't even know where this doctor, like this hospital is working. This hospital could be French for all we know. You know what I mean? Like the nurses could be French for all we know. And it's like, no, I do not want a French person touching me. This French is the one who's doing this to me, you know? But Fanon doesn't include that. And this is one of the things that you have to realize when you're doing research or researching questions is that you have to realize that there are many, many variables at play. By the way, it looks like, what's his name is back? Machiavelli. Machiavelli, check this out. You said what?
You missed me yet?
No, you missed this part, man. Look at this right here. It says, A, water is forced through the mouth. Like, these are 2 different types of torture. A, water is forced through the mouth accompanied by an enema of a soapy water injected at high pressure. An enema is when they inject water into your rectum, right? To injure your intestines, right? Normally to clean you. No. Water is forced up your anus.
No, the other one through the mouth. I said that's waterboarding.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not no waterboarding, man. You know, this is a little. And then the other one is a bottle is rammed into your anus, right? And I was just discussing.
Can you hear me? Like waterboarding is when they put like a cloth over your face and they make you feel like you're drowning and they pour the water over you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like know your torture, bro. Know your torture.
Right? Okay. You might be on the wrong side of it one day. Huh?
Okay, thanks. That's good. It's good to know. I know my torture. Okay.
Bruh, you should know your torture. What's wrong with you? This dude trying to count us for knowing our torture, man. This dude.
It's okay. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind.
Right?
I've been surviving this experiment a long time. You got to understand what's going on.
Exactly. How does dude don't know his torture? Anyway, but what I said, he think he's so smart, but he don't know torture. You know. But anyway, what I was saying was Yeah. They ramming. Yeah, and that's the thing that's common in Africa. People don't know, but that's common in Africa, and it might be African soldiers doing it to African civilians at this point. Which is something that's like telling. I remember watching this movie. It's called The Harder They Come. Nice song, right? But Harder They Come is like from Jamaica, and I remember when I was watching it, the dude who went to it was like a public function, right? And anyway, so the dude who was sitting next to me, he was like, yeah, they still beat people in Jamaica, like whip you at the prison, huh?
Rise cloud.
Yeah, make a Ross cloud out of you, Anyway, all right, so 11 cases, there are patients who cannot stay in one place. They insist on being alone and have difficulty accepting confinement with a doctor in his consulting room. So 2 feelings frequently emerge in this first batch of tortured victims. Oh, yeah, another thing you got to realize, Machiavelli, if you missed it, was that if you do confess during torture, they will probably kill you anyway.
That's why I'm saying, like, how are you going to verify they're telling you the truth anyway by doing all that? They're just trying to tell you anything just to stop.
Yeah, but they're still going to kill you anyway. So that's why.
So that's why, like, okay, so might as well, you don't kill me anyway. I'm not going to tell you the truth.
Exactly. Harsh Reality Podcast said, peace, fam. Peace, Harsh Reality. Welcome. All right, so 2 feelings frequently emerge in this first batch of tortured victims. First of all, that of injustice. Having been tortured day in and day out for nothing seems to have broken something in these men. One of these martyred victims had a particularly painful experience. After several days of unsuccessful torturing, the policeman came to realize they were dealing with a peace-loving individual who had nothing to do with any of the FLNL networks. In spite of this conviction, a police inspector reportedly said, "Don't let him go like that. Work him over a bit more so that when he gets out, he'll keep quiet." So even though they found out this guy was like, "Oh, I don't really want to deal with the war. I don't, I'm on your guys' side. You guys built something nice over here, right?" They were like, "Nah, beat him up some more so he doesn't talk." So 31, the precautionary torture in certain regions becomes precautionary repression. At Rivet, for example, although the place was totally calm, the colonists were determined not to be taken by surprise. The neighboring regions had begun to show signs of unrest and decided to eliminate purely and simply any member of the FLN. Over 40 Algerians were killed in a single day. So we were talking about that before. So even though you don't join that's the thing too. If a revolution pops off or whatever, right? Even if your particular place isn't infected or isn't impacted, the colonists, the white establishment would still attack your people, kind of like forcing your hand to get involved, but also, as you said, it's a precautionary repression, it's like, I think it's George Bush got famous for that, where he said, preemptive strike, it's like you don't wait for somebody to strike at you, you just strike them first. Now, how are you justified with that? You're not, but again, might makes right, Secondly, an indifferent.
W. Bush, that's why.
You said what?
Because he's W, George W.
Because he's George W. You understand? like I do what I want. Now watch this drive. Yeah, you gonna say the same thing? Yo, I'm telling you, man. Yo, he really did that, man. He was like, and we're gonna get those terrorists and Allah. Now watch this drive. Like, yo, and it was a good hit too.
Bro. We didn't know it was gonna be worse with Trump, though. We thought that was the worst it could be.
I thought it was gonna be the worst, man. And that's the thing, though. Like, he kind of prepared you, though. It was like you realize there was no sense. Next. You said what?
Guess what's happening next?
Yeah, exactly. He kind of prepared you, where you were just like, you know what? Like you couldn't get too mad during the Trump era because it was like, I still just didn't like that guy. I just didn't like he was just, but he was funny, low key. People say Trump is low key funny.
He was like mumbling, stumbling, like, but how'd you even make it here?
Yeah, like he was like, oh, like, nah, you ain't graduated from Yale, man. You ain't graduated from Yale. That's not true. But yeah, somehow he did. All right. Anyway, so secondly, an indifference to any moral argument. For these patients, there is no just cause. A tortured cause is a weak cause. The first thing to do is to increase one's power and not pose the question of the merit of a cause. Power is the only thing that counts. There you go. And you can say it again. Yeah, so they were indifferent to any moral argument. Like if you got tortured, you wouldn't care about that. There's no just cause. There's no reason. Like you can't reason with a person who's living their life, minding their business, and then they're picked up by the authorities and tortured. Like, give me the information. No, and they just torture you, and then that's it. And they say to themselves, the first thing to do is just increase their power and not pose the question of the merits. You know, like you realize that when you're a victim of somebody, the only thing you need is power. You know, some people develop that. You know, if, like you get attacked by somebody, the only thing you want to do, for instance, a lot of people. In fact, like I said, D-Web's here. Bit of medicine. Bit of medicine's here too. Dang, it's like shoot. But this is a crossover episode. I didn't know, but anyway, like a lot of people, like a lot of women who pick up arms, you know, pick up so after possibly like escaping an attack or something, you know. In fact, I think D-Web, like Harsh Reality Presents, they interviewed a lady who did that, you know, like who was like I think she was either attacked or she avoided an attack. But then she decided to take up classes and get some self-defense training. Now, you should do that beforehand. But the thing people realize is that, you know, power. And it's like Marcus Garvey said. I told you guys this before. You know, Marcus Garvey said the only protection against injustice in man is power. Physical, financial, and scientific. You know, and there's no sense giving moral argumentation. There's no sense of saying, you know, well, this is right, or, you know, kidnapping people is wrong and torturing people is wrong. There's no sense in any of that. The only protection you have against torture is
the
power.
book. It's an education.
Is what?
An education.
Nah, man, it's not. That's not going to stop you, man. That's not going to stop somebody from, you know, because let's be honest, like we go back to Amos Wilson. That's one of the things I didn't like about how Amos Wilson died was that. You know, or even how Khalid Muhammad died. Like I have an elder who thought Khalid Muhammad might have been like radiation poison, but you know, back like in retrospect, she might have just been a conspiracy theorist. But like the guy just ends up sick and like vomiting and puking, you know, randomly. You know, now of course he's at like good physical health, you know, but you know, her suspicion is that maybe like I think they were at some rally and there was a lot of people on the ceiling like pointing like mirrors and stuff, or you know, something, but like something kind of a device possibly to like cause some internal radiation damage or something. It's possible. I don't know. I never really looked into it, to be honest. Because you know, like the thing about not looking into things, huh?
They do an autopsy.
Well, you know, who did it? You know what I'm saying? But like the thing is that when you look into things, like there's a lot of information that's not online. You know what I mean? Because why would it be, right? Because the thing is that all information online was put up by somebody. You know, like you don't like the internet is at the end of the day like man-made. You said what?
Essentially, it's crowdsourced.
Yeah, exactly. It's man-made. Like if you see a book, like for instance, this book that we're reading was somebody scanned it and put it together. You know,
you didn't buy his book, bro. How could you do that, man? That's wrong.
Yeah, you're right. That's wrong, guys. Make sure you go buy books, people that you support. You know what I'm saying? don't not buy books. All right, anyway, but real talk, like so, you know, you would have to have known how, but like people don't know how Khalid Muhammad or Amos Wilson died. You know, or the one person who probably does know how Amos Wilson died. Maybe, possibly too. But again, they have to go online and report it. You know what I mean? And if they don't, then you just won't know. Like for instance, how did Ranoka Rashidi die? You know? I mean, obviously. You said what? I haven't heard anything. Yeah, exactly. How did Lila Africa die? Oh, what did he die from? You know
he died
what I mean?
like a year ago.
Yeah, what did he die from? What did he die from? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like unless somebody puts it up, you won't know. So like that's the thing about the internet. Anyway, but on that note, like the only thing that protects you is power. So, you know, yeah, but like again, those are some smart people. Like particularly I was talking about Amos Wilson and Khalid Muhammad. They're pretty, I mean, not to say that, I mean, Ranoka Rashidi and Lila Africa are smart too. I just wasn't talking about them at the time. But the point is that, you know, you have smart people and like you could have all the knowledge in the world. It's not going to protect you from somebody more powerful than you, you know? Like you have to just not have somebody more powerful than you. Or if somebody is more powerful than you, you know, you have to be able to pose a threat to them as well, you know? you know, like again, like if somebody is trying to attack you and you're a woman, you know, you should arm yourself, or you should know how to render them, render them helpless, right?
But some pepper spray, some mace.
Well, that's the thing too. But like the brother, like during the interview, the brother was interviewing the sister, and the sister was saying that realistically speaking, people like criminals, they do not work alone, you know. So you have to be able to incapacitate 2 or more people, you know. So like pepper spray might work against one person possibly, right? But like again, like if
you get that Ogun juice.
Oh yeah, well, juice is different though. Yeah, you could probably
kill it like 5 of them in one
spray.
Shit.
There's only 20 of them. Make sure you guys cap. No, I'm joking. Cap. Anyway, yeah, that brother, man. Hey, no, but like seriously, like you gotta realize. Cause I remember one time I did bump into somebody who was like a big guy. I wasn't likely to win 1-on-1. I was like a 19-year-old boy. This guy's like a 40-year-old career criminal. With
career criminal.
Yeah, career criminal.
How
like,
you come to this conclusion?
Nah, and he was like big too. Like he wasn't like I'm a 40. Back then I was thin. Times change, right? But anyway, but like back then I was thin. This guy is muzzled. And yeah, his name was like he did call himself Debo. I didn't get the reference though. I did not get the reference, so I'm just like that's an interesting name. Right, that's a memorable name.
Wow, you are lame,
bro. First off, that's like an old movie. 1 and 2, like
bro,
if I'm
classic, bro. Everybody know that one.
If I'm just turning 18, it was rated R. It was rated R. I'm just turning 18.
Ooh.
There's no reason.
Wow.
What do you mean? There's no reason for me to watch it. I'm too young. What's wrong with you? All right. Anyway, anyway, whatever, man. Anyway, but like that's what happened. Yeah. All right. Let me look at these comments. So everybody's saying peace, the whole fam here. So peace fam and peace web and peace fam and peace sis. All right. So then Harsh Reality says Rhonda Mary. Oh yeah, good interview. Follow her and Maj Touré. They're putting in the work, bringing in 2A awareness to our community. Yeah. So yeah, when he interviewed Rhonda Mary, you guys should check that out. She's really explaining that self-defense, like self-defense is like something you should learn, and you also have to be aware of your surroundings. Because like I said, I saw this guy, he's already like somebody I wouldn't win in a fight. Easy. It's one thing to be a career criminal. And it's another thing to just be like have 200 pounds on the person you're fighting. But notwithstanding that
point, you better carry that hammer with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the issue was that at the time I had like 100 pounds of luggage on me, So it's like... You said what?
Well, that story.
Yeah. So it's like you couldn't even run, if you wanted to. Like I probably could have outrun him. But here's the thing: he had another accomplice with him, who was like sitting in a car across the street, and you noticed them from jump. So it's like you're already at like a huge disadvantage. You have 2 adults preying on some boy who has 100 pounds of luggage on him.
Could have ran.
You said what?
Could have ran.
You can't run with 100 pounds, man.
Oh, well, yeah, without it, you could have dusted him, though.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the other guy had a car, honestly. But yeah.
No, but you could make it, though.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I could outrun a car, but still. But seriously, yeah, but you would have to lose all of your, like, everything you brought with you, to college.
I hear you.
Yeah. So it's just not worth it. I mean, eventually, I think the guy, like it was like the one time I got robbed. I shouldn't even talk about it, but it was like $20, so it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, the guy allegedly helped me with my bags. Like he helped me cross the street with my bags.
He helped me with the bags.
I mean, I was like, "Where's the bus stop?" I didn't even know where the bus stop was because I was gonna take the bus, and he's like, "Sure, I can tell you where the bus stop is." And then I helped, and he was like, "I'll help you with your bags, huh?"
That's $20.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a small, like I had like money on me. You know what I mean? Like I had maybe like 300. That's not money, but like I had like maybe $300, $400 on me. So
a good
like,
amount to keep on hand. That's a lot.
You said what?
To keep on hand on your body.
Yeah, my like because you're going to college. You just made it to college, and your parents was like, here's some money to, like you're in a whole new town, you're in a new city, at least you're not going to be like if you don't know how to do the works or you don't know anything, blah, 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 at least you could, have something to eat or something, you know? So it's like, yeah, at least I didn't get robbed for like 200, 300, but I still remember how much money I left. I mean, obviously in retrospect, $20 is not that much. Obviously in retrospect, not getting attacked or dying is $20 is not that much. But, you know, it still sucks. I lost $20. I can see.
That's a jerk chicken play, bro.
Shit, that's like half an oxtail plate.
No, quarter now.
Yeah, that's like a quarter oxtail plate. Like shit, boy. I'm hungry right now. All right, let me stop. All right, so let's keep going. So group number 2, after torture by electricity. In this batch, we have grouped the Algerian patriots who have been mainly tortured by electricity. Whereas electricity was once just one method of torture in a series, from September 1956 onward, certain interrogations were conducted exclusively with electricity. So, by the way, we're only going up to page 216, so we got to probably speed it up a little bit. But psychiatric symptoms encountered: A, local or systemic somatic delusions. There are 3 cases. So these patients feel pins and needles throughout the body and get the impression their hands are being torn off, their heads are bursting, and they are swallowing their tongue. B, apathy, lack of will, and loss of interest. 7 cases. These patients suffer from apathy, a lack of motivation and energy, and live from a day to day. And C, a phobia of electricity, fear of touching a light switch, fear of switching on the radio, fear of using telephones. Absolutely impossible for the doctor to even mention the possibility of electroshock treatment. So the doctor's like, hey, y'all, what if we electrocute you to make you feel better? Yeah, no. But yeah, what is this about? So what is this about? He's saying that, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He's talking about innocent people. He's talking about people who have nothing to do with the FLN, right? Being captured and electrocuted to get information out of them, and they don't know anything, you know? And then they're released into the streets and they're just fearful. And that's what it is. That's all it is, you know? So he says, oh, dang, what the whoa. You all see this? Group number 3, after administration of the truth serum. Yo, that's weird, because I really thought I was watching this show and they were like, truth serum is a joke. Anyway, sorry. So this drug is used in a patient who apparently suffers from an unconscious mental block such that no cross-examination can induce him to talk freely. Methods of chemical exploration are used. Intravenous injections of pentothal. Pentothal is the most common method with the aim of liberating the patient from an inner conflict he's unable to surmount. The doctor intervenes in order to liberate the patient from this foreign body. Nevertheless, there has been difficulties controlling the gradual disintegration of the psychological agencies. It is not unusual to witness a spectacular deterioration or the emergence of a new and quite inexplicable symptoms. Generally speaking, this method, therefore, has been more or less abandoned. So footnote 32 is, in fact, it is not foreign at all. The conflict is nothing more than a result of the changing dynamics of his personality, but there's no question of foreign body. And he better defined as being poorly assimilated, right? That's pretty interesting. So in Algeria, the military doctors and psychiatrists have discovered further possibilities for experimenting with this method in the police detention centers. If pentothal can release repression in the case of neurosis, then in the case of Algerian patriots, it must also be able to break the political barrier and get the prisoner to confess without recourse to electricity. For according to medical tradition, any suffering must be avoided. This is the medical equivalent of psychological warfare. The scene goes as follows. First of all, the psychiatrist states, I am a doctor, not a policeman. I'm here to help you. You see how they do that? Thus, the prisoner's trust is won after a few days, right? I'm telling you, they're all a part of the same system, but you look at it like, oh, he's a doctor. He's here to help me, right? And that's what white people are doing to you. They're trying to get you to think that, oh no, there are bad ones and there are good ones, right? But then the good ones are working with the bad ones. Kind of like good cop, bad cop, you know? The Mutt and Jeff routine. You know, when I was in the UAM, the guy would tell me that there's always a Mutt and Jeff routine. He would actually say that, because like what happens is that when in America and in New York, the election is always between like the Republicans and the Democrats, and the Republicans are always some rabid, frothing racists, right? And the Democrats are always just other people. And so the Democrats continually run the same routine on us, and you kind of see the same routine in the presidential elections. But at the same time, it's like, it's hard to not go along with it, you know? Like, it's hard to not go along with it. Like, I completely understand why people do, like, go along with it in the sense of, you know, like sometimes you say, this is just a routine. And then you're like, wait a second, that guy is pretty much a jerk or, you know, an asshole or whatever. So it's really weird. Like, it's possible it's not a routine. But the thing is that what he called it was a Mutt and Jeff routine. So Mutt and Jeff, if you're talking about before my time, Mutt and Jeff was before my time, and it's just like this old. I think it's this older black comedy. I'm gonna look it up. It might be an older black comedy, and oh no, it looks like no, it's not even a black comedy. It's like from the 1907, where you have. This is Mutt and Jeff is a long-running and widely popular American newspaper comic strip created by cartoonist Bud Fisher in 1907 about two mismatched tin horns. It's currently regarded as the first daily comic strip. But like basically, I guess if you were born in a certain time, you would have like these like just a routine where there's just two different individuals, and you would just like there's just like I don't know actually, I honestly would have to look into it. But yeah, that's what he usually call it, and it just stuck with me. But basically this good cop bad cop routine where one of them is allegedly good and on your side, the other one, and they're holding you back from the bad person. And is it a routine, or is it possible that they're just two people on the same side and one of them actually is bad? You know, like the doctor and the policeman, where the doctor is on the same side as the policeman, but the policeman will beat you up, you know? And it's not like a routine or a bluff as much as this policeman will beat you up. They will electrocute you. And I think that's where people that's where people get disagreements. But then I'm going to give you a few shots to clear your head for several days. So they say, you know, they get the prisoner's trust and they say, I'm going to take a few shots to clear your head. For several days, all kinds of vitamins, heart stimulants, and other placebos are administered. On the fourth or fifth day, the pentothal is injected intravenously. The interrogation begins. So you see that, like I said, Sun Tzu tells you all warfare is based off of deception, right? So first they give you vitamins, and you're like, see, nothing happened. And they're like, oh yeah, you're right, nothing happened. Then they give you heart stimulants, and it's like, ooh, did something happen? Yeah, my heart kind of increased. Oh, that's unusual. That's fine though. You're okay, right? Yeah, I'm okay. Then they give you placebos. Placebos are basically they give you nothing, right? And they're like, did you feel anything? And you're like, no, I didn't feel anything. I actually feel pretty good. I feel the same, right? Really, that's interesting. Good. And then they give you the real thing, the pentothal, right? And then they interrogate you. You see what I'm saying? Like all warfare is based off of deception. You know? All warfare is based off of deception. So yeah, that's how it's going to be. I already know what conversation is going to come up next. Anyway, let me just keep going. So psychiatric symptoms encountered. A, verbal stereotypy. The patient continually repeats phrases such as, I didn't tell them anything. You have to believe me. I don't talk. This stereotypy is accompanied by a permanent anxiety. Very often, in fact, the patient is unaware of whether he has given any information away. Guilt towards the cause he stands for and the comrades whose names and addresses he might have given here takes on dramatic proportions. No reassurance can restore peace of mind to these ruined consciences. So this is actually pretty interesting. I'm gonna say this. Look, all right. So 33. So let me see. Footnote 33. So we can also mention the case of psychiatrists running the Présence Française groups who, appointed to examine the prisoners, started off boasting they were great friends with the defense lawyer and claiming both of them, the lawyer and the psychiatrist, would get the prisoner out. All the prisoners examined by the method were guillotined. These psychiatrists boasted in front of us of this neat method of overcoming resistance. Damn. See, look, I wouldn't recommend this book, but now that I'm reading this kind of stuff, I'm like, shit, boy. Y'all heard that? Look, he's saying...
No, I didn't.
All right, he's saying this. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or not, but it's possible he didn't. He's saying that there are psychiatrists that he met who were saying that when prisoners, right, that when they met with prisoners, they would tell the prisoners, hey, you know what? I'm actually great friends with a defense lawyer, right? And, you know, you go through this sort of interrogation with me, and we can get you out because I got a defense lawyer. They're on your side. You can do all that kind of stuff, right? And then all of those prisoners that were examined like that, they were all guillotined, and the psychiatrists were boasting of how that was a neat way to overcome the resistance that the prisoners had. It reminds me of the Central Park. It's actually Central Park 8, I think, right? Or is it Central Park 9 or something like that? But like, what happened?
Central Park 9, bro. 5.
You said how many?
Central Park 5.
Okay, so Central Park 6 then. right? Like the point is that there were multiple kids who were arrested, right? And like one of them, the one that doesn't make the story, the one who didn't go to jail, was the one who was defended by Alton Maddox, right? So basically, like each of them had a different lawyer, and one of them was Alton Maddox, and Alton Maddox just kind of like went about it differently, where he said essentially in America you can get a rush trial, you know, like you it's in your rights to like get a trial within 3 days or something like that, right? And so he demanded that right, and because the state couldn't get evidence in that limited time frame, the person
throw it out.
Yeah, they had to throw it out. So like they don't mention him, even though he was one of the accused, because he didn't get arrested, he didn't go to jail because his lawyer was actually good, right? But notwithstanding that, the point here is that, you know, another kid might have, or this is something that's regular inside of the defense. Like this is something regular. Like I think Maddox said he advised that we go down to the Brooklyn Supreme Court or something like one day and just sit there, and you'll see a long line of black youth who are just pleading guilty to crimes, even crimes they didn't commit, you know? And that's what happened with the Central Park 7 or Central Park whatever number, is that they were admitting guilt to a crime they didn't commit. You know, it was just a normal thing, because what happens is that you come across these threats where it's like, if you're found guilty, you will get more years than if you admit guilt, you know? So it becomes that, hey, you know, if you have somebody coming to you and telling you that we have evidence that you did so-and-so, right? And we're going to put you away for 10 years for that. Or instead of that, you could save us some time. You know, we don't have to go to court, and you just plead guilty and you'll get 5 years. And, you know, as much as it sounds like we won't, like you wouldn't confess to something you didn't do, it's a very hard choice to risk it, you know, especially if you're a kid, especially, and like when it comes to black parents, yeah, when it comes to black parents, they will tell you to confess to something you didn't do too, you know. A lot of black
They
parents
don't know any better.
Yeah, a lot of black parents don't know any better now. A lot of black parents. You said what?
Why are you saying that?
No, I mean, like, if you have experience in the court system. So, like I said, Maddox would tell you that, like, one of the first things that happens when a police officer, like, police officers know this. When they pick up a black kid, they bring your parent in with the interview, and the parent tells this kid, tell the police officer the truth. Tell the police officer anything you know, right? Now, here's the thing. The kid is now being interviewed. Like the thing you're supposed to tell the kid is to not talk without a lawyer present. You understand? But instead of that, you know, the parent comes in and strong arms the kid to talk, notwithstanding that there's no lawyer present. And that's already going to screw you over big time. Like that's already this screw you over. But again, sometimes the lawyer, particularly if you're like if you have like a bad lawyer, right? The lawyer is going to tell you to plead guilty. Why? Because the lawyer, like the free lawyers, are like overwhelmed with cases. So it's just like a lose-lose situation. You could be an innocent black kid, and you most of the times you are, or at least you're innocent of whatever you're being accused of, right? You're probably not innocent, but notwithstanding that, you know, you're going to prison, you're going to jail, you know, and you're pleading guilty, and when you plead guilty, you lose your right of appeal. So whereas even if you got the 10 years from trial, you can go to appeals court and you could probably cut it down, you know, to like 2 years or just be released. If you plead guilty to 5 years, you're in for 5 years. You know what I mean? Like you waived your right of appeal. And like I said, you go down to the prison system, you go down to the court, and you'll see this just a long line of kids saying, yeah, I prove guilty. Okay, 5 years. Next. Yeah, I'm guilty. Next. Yeah, I'm guilty. Next. You know? That's what it is. So that was actually pretty sad though, like, because you're going to people and you're giving them this false confidence, and then you kill them like they're dead, and then you brag about it. And it's like, you know, I mean, I'll tell you, man, like, I sometimes say don't trust the system. I sometimes say that, you know, and it's like,
at that point you're so vulnerable, so you'll take anything.
You said what?
So they basically took advantage of your vulnerability.
Yeah, but it's terrible. So let's see. Somebody, Revolutionary Mission says they tried to not make you fight. Yep. And you can plead to the charges and take 5. Maybe it'll be probation, or you can try to beat this 55 years we're going to give you. Yeah, exactly. They'll give you something ridiculous, like 55 years. In front of our judges, decided by a jury of us, right? And then a bit of medicine says railroading. Yeah, that's a sad reality. What can I say about that? I think I had something else to say, but the thing I was surprised about. Okay, so the Pantanal. So I did watch one of the, like I said, I was binging those Marvel movies, and one of them was like, yeah, truth serum's not real. And I was actually convinced that they were saying that, but like, it's weird to hear about a truth serum being used. It's actually pretty weird. All right, so no assurance can restore a peace of mind of the ruined conscience. So B, blurred mental and sensory perception. The patient cannot ascertain. Wait, did I read this one? Oh, yeah. So the patient cannot ascertain the existence of an object. Reasoning is assimilated without making any distinctions. There is a basic indistinction between true and false. Everything is both true and false. A phobia of any one-on-one conversation. The fear stems from the acute impression that he can be interrogated again at any time. And D, inhibition. The patient is on his guard, registers a question word by word, and elaborates his answers word by word. Hence the impression of virtual inhibition, together with psychological slowing down, interrupted sentences, and repetition, etc. It is obvious these patients stubbornly refuse any type of intravenous injections. While we're talking about, it's obvious that they refuse any sort of injections. While we talked about Huey Newton the other day, that's another thing to remember, that Huey Newton was also drugged pretty badly. Like, they do these kind of things in these prisons. They torture you, but they also drug you to the point where you just lose certain things. You lose certain functionality. Human beings, for what we are, for its worth, we are a collection of cells, fundamentally, right? And if you alter those sort of cells in these sort of ways, like to have those sort of psychological, transformations, that can permanently damage you. So I mean, that's just actually kind of sad. So he says, after group number 4, after brainwashing, and not sad because I don't really care for these people, but sad for it's just something to be aware of, that in the event of war, that people will do things to other people, and it will probably have some long-term effects. So he says, after brainwashing, there's been much talk recently about psychological warfare in Algeria. We have no intention of conducting a critical study of these methods. We shall merely highlight here their psychiatric consequences. There are 2 categories of brainwashing centers in Algeria. So one is for intellectuals. The principle here is to induce the intellectual into role-playing. It is clear to which psychotherapy school this refers. So he says, number 34, in the U.S., there is a trend towards social therapy. Supporters of this school believe that the plight of contemporary man lies in the fact that he no longer has a role to play and that he is nothing but a cog in the social mechanism. Social therapy, therefore, allows man to play several roles as part of a genuine recreational activity. Anyone can play any role and even change roles during the course of the day, symbolically substituting for anybody. Occupational therapists in the U.S. apparently achieve miracles in group social therapy among factory workers. The workers are allowed to identify with role models, and employer-employee relations are considerably less strained. All right, so he says, A, play the game of collaborator. The intellectual is induced to collaborate by establishing a justification for his collaboration. He is therefore obliged to live a dual personality and play the part of a well-known patriot who has been taken out of circulation as a precautionary measure. The aim of the operation is to attack from the inside those elements that constitute the national consciousness. Not only must he collaborate, but he is given orders to discuss freely with opponents and holdouts in order to win them over. This is an efficient way of getting him to give leads on patriots and using him therefore as an informer. If by chance he claims he didn't find any opponents, they are designated for him, or else he is asked to behave as if they were. That's interesting. Didn't really get it, but that's interesting. He's saying that intellectuals were being used as informants, and just brainwashing. So B, they give talks on the values of French accomplishments and the merits of colonization. In order to achieve his job effectively, the intellectual is counseled by a broad group of political advisors, such as officers for native affairs, or better still, psychologists, therapists, and sociologists, etc. And so C, they take the argument for the Algerian Revolution and eliminate them one by one. So Algeria is not a nation, has never been a nation, and never will be. There's no such thing as the Algerian people. Algerian patriotism is devoid of meaning. The Felagas are schemers, criminals, and have the wool pulled over their eyes. The intellectual has to take turns giving a presentation on these topics, and each has to be convincing. Grades, the infamous awards, are allocated in total at the end of the month. They are used to evaluate whether the intellectual will be released. So that basically these are arguments for the Algerian Revolution, or these really sound like arguments against the Algerian Revolution, but these are arguments for the Algerian Revolution. And what they would do is that they would bring these intellectuals, these people who can think and talk well and all that kind of stuff, and they will make them, they will give them grades according to how well they can articulate against the revolution. And if they can do it well, then they can be released into the general population. Now, obviously, they want to see how deeply convicted you are, how deeply convinced you are. Maybe they'll give you a lot of things to read and a lot of, whatever. Now, obviously, I would think, hey, if somebody did that to me, I could just fool them. But, maybe it's not that easy. Maybe they can see through it. Who knows? D, lead an absolutely pathological communal life. To remain alone is an act of rebellion. The individual must always be in the presence of somebody. Silence is also prohibited. The individual must think out loud. So they want you to, like this is the way how they brainwash people. So testimony. This is the case of an academic who was interned and subjected to months of brainwashing. And this is for months, So for months. But anyway. So one day the camp officials congratulated him on his progress and announced he would soon be set free. Familiar with the enemy's tactic, he was wary of taking the news too seriously. The stratagem, in fact, was to announce to the prisoners they were going to be freed, and a few days before the set date, organize a group session of self-criticism. At the end of the session, it was often decided to postpone release since the prisoners showed no signs of being definitely cured. The session, according to the psychologists present, highlighted a single-minded nationalist virus. This time, however, there was no subterfuge. The prisoner was well and truly freed. Once outside in town with his family, the former prisoner congratulated himself on having played his role so well. He was overjoyed at the idea of taking part again in the national struggle and endeavored to get back in touch with the leaders. It was then that a terrible nagging idea crossed his mind. Perhaps nobody had been duped, neither his captors nor his co-inmates nor even himself. Where was the game supposed to end? Once again, we had to reassure the patient and free him from the burden of guilt. So he's saying that this guy, was brought to this, brainwashing camp, and he was convinced, like he eventually showed signs that he actually wasn't about the movement. And then finally, when he gets out, he's like, time to go join that movement. And then it occurs to him, wait, why am I going to join this movement? So it worked, and he just didn't know, which is a sad story, or a saddest story. So another one is psychiatric symptoms encountered. A phobia of any collective discussion. As soon as 3 or 4 people get together, the inhibition reappeared and mistrust and reticence reasserted themselves. And B, the subject finds it impossible to explain and defend a given viewpoint. An antithetical thought process. Anything which is affirmed can be simultaneously denied with the same force. This is certainly the most painful legacy we have encountered in the war. The obsessive personality is the fruit of the psychological warfare used in the service of colonialism in Algeria. So you see, what happens is that essentially they were in this brainwashing camp for so long, and they experienced all this brainwashing techniques that eventually they couldn't even articulate an argument, right? Period. Because they realized that, one of the things that the Western experience gave them was this idea that even if you can articulate the pros, you could do the cons. Even if you could articulate for something, you could articulate against it. And it kind of reminds me of why I never participated in debate camps or debate, schools or whatever. Is that in those debate things, you will, what you learn is that you can be either for or against a subject. You have to be either for or against a subject. My thing is to advocate the position I believe in, not necessarily the position I don't believe in, but that's the thing that they give you, and that's what and that kind of thinking can inhibit you to the point where you don't
part
really
of it,
feel
you have to know both sides of whatever you're arguing about.
Yeah, nah, I don't think so.
If you know your enemy, you'll be able to know.
No, yeah, you know it, but it's for me, it's it reminds me of the movie The Great Debaters, where I think at the end the little boy is arguing against slavery, right? against some white boy who's arguing for it or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it could have been something like that, right? But like the thing is that if you were to get this little boy to argue for slavery, it's like, yeah, no. You know, like it's one thing to know the other side. It's a whole other thing to argue for slavery. So what they had this guy do is literally argue, make good arguments for the colonization of Algeria. And then afterward, like that had a long-term psychological effect where he actually couldn't, he couldn't even form an argument anymore. Notwithstanding, like not just in regards to the colonization of Algeria, he just couldn't form an argument, period, because it just jacks you up, and that's the issue. And you know, a lot of black people do go through that whole debate thing where they are like, you know, yeah, we like our oppression, and then like eventually they just have this cognitive block because like you were saying, hey, well, I could look at it both sides. There's no both sides. You have one side that's enslaving a people, you know. So there's that. Harsh Reality says, also entire legal system based on repeat customers, aka recidivism. This is why they are so quick to offer probation as an alternative. Yeah, recidivism. You know, one of the things about the prison system is that most people who are in prison are from the same areas, like the same neighborhoods. So like, I think here inside of New York City, there's like maybe like 3 districts that constitute like 60% of the prison population, you know? And like outside of those districts, like, you know, you don't really have that kind of arrest or that kind of so on and so forth. So it's you know, this is really an industry, you know? I think they call it a prison industrial complex, I think. But it's really an industry in the sense of, you know, you just need some extra labor, you know? I think Bitter Medicine was talking about the other day, and maybe yesterday, about how we were brought here for labor. No, I think he said it in the education of the Negro. The forward, Dr. Clark said that we were just brought here for labor. And like, that's part of what the prison system is. It is, you know, a way to just get labor. And of course, those 3 districts or whatever number of districts they are, you know, nobody's really talking about them or helping them, you know? And nobody plans to, nobody will, maybe nobody could, you know? It's just a bunch of, like, it's just an area where black people are, you know, quote unquote, bred to be the labor force for these rich white corporations. And that's it. And anybody just goes along with it because, like, what are you going to do? It's sad, but also not sad. And by not sad, I mean, like, you know, like, again, like, nobody's going to do anything about it. So he says for non-intellectuals, and we'll probably stop here, but for non-intellectuals, the centers like Beruagia, I think that's all right. Subjectivity is no longer taken as the starting point for modifying the individual's attitude. On the contrary, emphasis is on the body, which is broken in the hope that the national consciousness will disintegrate. The individual is knocked into shape. The individual's reward is being spared torture or being allowed to eat. Okay, so that's actually about it. So we stop at 216. But basically right there, he's saying that instead of like getting a bunch of, like, you know, a bunch of people who don't really read or can't really, or don't really formulate, you know, large arguments, you're not going to meet them and try to brainwash them into, you know, like being intellectually discouraged. Instead, you're going to treat them like animals. You know, you're going to beat them up, and the only reward they get is to not be tortured or to be allowed to eat. So you're going to starve people and beat them up. And then if they are doing good or not, you know, going along with the FLN, then you will, you know, you'll spare them in that sense. Anyway, so that's the reading for today. I appreciate everybody for joining. This was really interesting. You guys could, you know, hit us those like buttons if you please. But otherwise, I'll go down the list and express my appreciation. Kofi, thank you for coming through. Kofi's also on the Discord, so appreciate that too. Revolutionary Matron was here, Learning Curve. Make sure you guys check it out. She's stay dropping gems. It looks like every day now, but stay dropping gems. Melanin 100%. She came through, gave us some of that knowledge, right? Harsh Reality Podcast came through, good brother. Bit of Medicine podcast, good brother. Oh, and of course, if you guys didn't realize, Mchaka 97 was here too. Him and his internet wasn't he forgot to pay his data, but he paid it now, so it's all good. But other than that, thank you so much, family, for joining and speaking. And until tomorrow, we got 2 more of these, and then I could eat regular food, because 11 a.m. is when stores start serving lunch. So yeah. All right, fam. Shemi Motep, Anku Ja Seneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua Neche. Mama say, Mama sa, Umakusa.